The recurring dreams you've been having aren't random neural activity while you sleep. They're your soul remembering what Edgar Cayce identified in his prophetic readings as the most reliable form of personal guidance during times of collective transition. In his trance states throughout the 1930s and 1940s, Cayce consistently described repeating dreams as the psyche's method of preparing individuals for their specific role in approaching civilizational shifts. He saw that when humanity enters threshold periods, moments when one era dies and another struggles to be born, the veil between conscious awareness and soul memory becomes permeable, and the same symbolic scenarios play out in sleep again and again until the dreamer recognizes the pattern and acts on the message. What you're experiencing in those persistent dream sequences isn't psychological dysfunction or meaningless repetition. It's your deeper self attempting to wake you up to the precise preparation you need for what's already beginning to unfold around us. This isn't metaphor. Cayce documented thousands of cases where repeating dreams preceded major life transitions that aligned with larger historical patterns. And right now, as global instability accelerates in ways that mirror the cycles he mapped, your persistent dreams may be the most important messages you'll receive about your destiny in this specific moment. Have you been paying attention to what keeps showing up while you sleep? Share in the comments what symbols or scenarios repeat in your dreams. You might be surprised how many others are receiving similar preparation. When Edgar Cayce entered his prophetic trance states during the most turbulent decades of the 20th century, he identified something that modern psychology has largely dismissed. Repeating dreams are not symptoms of unresolved trauma or random mental processing, but rather the soul's primary method of communicating essential information about an individual's destiny, especially during periods of collective transformation. Cayce described the dreaming state as a threshold condition, where the conscious mind releases its grip on linear time and rational control, allowing what he called the superconscious mind, the aspect of consciousness connected to universal intelligence and soul memory, to deliver messages that cannot penetrate the barriers of waking awareness. In his readings given throughout the 1930s and 1940s, as the world descended into economic collapse and global war, Cayce observed that repeating dreams intensified dramatically across the population. He explained this wasn't coincidence, but rather a natural response to civilizational threshold moments. When humanity approaches major transitions, individual souls receive increasingly urgent communications about their specific preparation and purpose. The dreams repeat, he said, not because the psyche is stuck, but because the message hasn't been understood or acted upon, and time is running short for the preparation that's needed. Cayce made a crucial distinction that sets his understanding of repeating dreams apart from conventional dream analysis. He taught that while single dreams often address immediate situations or process daily experiences, dreams that recur with the same symbols, scenarios, or emotional patterns across months or years are fundamentally different in origin and purpose. These persistent dreams, according to Cayce's readings, emerge from what he termed soul memory, the accumulated knowledge from all of an individual's incarnations, including awareness of patterns that repeat across lifetimes and civilizations. When specific symbols or situations appear again and again in your dreams, Cayce explained, your soul is attempting to remind you of something you knew before this current life, something essential to your purpose in being here during this particular era of human history. He emphasized that repeating dreams intensify during collective transition periods because souls incarnate with specific missions during such times, and the dreams are the mechanism by which those missions are gradually revealed to the conscious mind. The fact that your dreams persist, despite your waking mind's attempts to dismiss or forget them, indicates, in Cayce's framework, the critical importance of what's being communicated. The prophetic dimension of Cayce's teaching on repeating dreams becomes especially significant when we examine the categories of recurring dreams he identified as most common during civilizational threshold periods, the exact type of moment we're living through now. Cayce documented that when one era approaches its conclusion and a new paradigm struggles to emerge, certain dream patterns appear with striking frequency across the population. Dreams of tidal waves, earthquakes, or massive storms represent not literal predictions of natural disasters, but rather the soul's symbolic language for collective upheaval and the necessity of spiritual grounding amid external chaos. Dreams of being unprepared for an important test or unable to find your way home reflect the soul's awareness that major transition is approaching and conscious preparation is insufficient. Dreams of discovering unknown rooms in familiar houses symbolize untapped capacities within yourself that will be needed for what's coming. Dreams of pursuit or being chased indicate resistance to necessary change and the soul's urgent message that avoidance is no longer sustainable. Cayce taught that these repeating patterns aren't psychological pathology, but prophetic preparation. Your deeper self knows what the surface mind refuses to acknowledge about the times we're entering. What makes Cayce's understanding particularly relevant right now is his teaching about the relationship between personal repeating dreams and collective destiny. He explained that individual souls don't dream in isolation, but rather participate in what he called the collective unconscious, or universal mind, a shared field of consciousness where individual and collective patterns intersect. During normal historical periods, personal dreams remain largely individual in content and meaning. But during threshold moments, when civilizational structures begin to destabilize and fundamental paradigm shifts approach, repeating dreams begin to carry both personal and collective dimensions simultaneously. The tidal wave in your recurring dream isn't just about your personal emotional overwhelm, it's also your soul recognizing and preparing you for the wave of collective change that's already building. The test you keep failing in your dreams isn't just about personal inadequacy, it's about the collective examination humanity faces regarding whether we've learned the spiritual lessons required to move forward. Cayce taught that those who pay attention to their repeating dreams during such periods gain advanced awareness of both their personal role and the larger pattern unfolding, positioning themselves to navigate the transition consciously rather than being swept along unconsciously. The historical parallel Cayce pointed to most frequently was the fall of Atlantis, which he described not as myth, but as documented soul memory accessible through the superconscious mind during deep trance states. According to Cayce's readings, in the final decades before Atlantis descended into the catastrophic events that destroyed that civilization, a similar phenomenon occurred. Repeating dreams intensified across the population as souls attempted to warn their conscious minds about approaching upheaval and to guide individuals toward either physical preparation or, more importantly, spiritual alignment that would carry them through the transition. Cayce explained that many souls currently incarnate lived during that Atlantean period and carry subconscious memories of what it feels like when a civilization approaches its breaking point. The repeating dreams you experience now, he taught, may actually be soul memories from that earlier threshold moment being activated by the similar energetic signature of the present time. Your psyche recognizes the pattern because it has been through this type of transition before, and the dreams are attempting to help you avoid the mistakes made then and fulfill the purpose you chose in incarnating during another such period. Cayce was emphatic that repeating dreams aren't meant to induce fear, but rather to inspire conscious preparation and spiritual alignment. He taught that the soul communicates through dreams in symbol and metaphor because the conscious mind, especially in materialistic eras, resists direct communication about spiritual realities. The repetition occurs because the message is urgent and the conscious mind keeps missing or dismissing it. But the nature of the message, according to Cayce's readings, is ultimately empowering rather than frightening. Your repeating dreams are showing you what within yourself needs attention, what capacities need development, what old patterns need release, and what spiritual resources you possess but haven't yet activated. The dream of being unprepared is inviting you to prepare, not materially through stockpiling supplies, but spiritually through prayer, meditation, service to others, and alignment with higher purpose. The dream of the tidal wave is inviting you to find your spiritual grounding so that when external structures become unstable, you remain centered. The dream of pursuit is inviting you to stop running from necessary change and face what you've been avoiding. Cayce taught that when you finally understand and act on what a repeating dream is communicating, the dream stops recurring because its purpose has been fulfilled. The spiritual law operating here, which Cayce identified across thousands of readings, is that consciousness seeks to evolve, and repeating dreams are one of the primary mechanisms by which your higher consciousness attempts to accelerate the evolution of your surface awareness. During ordinary times, this process can unfold gradually across years or decades, but during threshold periods of collective transition, which Cayce clearly stated we are entering now, the urgency increases dramatically because the time available for preparation compresses. Your soul knows that major changes are approaching, that old structures and systems will not hold, that new capacities and levels of consciousness will be required, and that you incarnated specifically to be present during this transition with a particular contribution to make. The repeating dreams are the language through which this soul knowledge attempts to penetrate your conscious resistance and awaken you to both the reality of the moment and your specific preparation and purpose within it. Cayce provided practical guidance for working with repeating dreams that remains profoundly relevant today. He taught that upon waking from a recurring dream, the first step is to write down every detail you can remember, not just the main scenario, but the emotions, colors, specific symbols, and your actions within the dream. Over time, as you accumulate records of the same dream repeating, patterns become visible that weren't apparent from any single instance. He emphasized that the emotional tone of the dream is often more significant than the literal content. A dream that leaves you feeling frantic indicates resistance to necessary change, while one that leaves you feeling awed or humbled indicates soul recognition of something greater than the personal self. Cayce taught that after recording the dream, you should enter meditation or prayer with the specific intention of asking for clarity about what the dream is communicating and what action it's inviting you to take. He stressed that repeating dreams always have a practical component. They're not just providing information, but calling for response, whether that's releasing an old pattern, developing a new capacity, making a specific life change, or aligning with spiritual practice more seriously. The most challenging aspect of Cayce's teaching on repeating dreams is his insistence that ignoring or dismissing them carries consequences, especially during threshold periods like the present. He explained that the soul's communication through dreams is not optional entertainment, but rather essential guidance that, when refused, leaves the individual unprepared for transitions that will occur whether acknowledged or not. In his readings about the approaching earth changes and civilizational shifts, Cayce repeatedly emphasized that those who pay attention to inner guidance, including repeating dreams, position themselves to navigate disruption with purpose and stability, while those who ignore such guidance find themselves overwhelmed and disoriented when external structures collapse. This isn't punishment for ignoring dreams, but simply the natural consequence of refusing preparation that was offered. Your repeating dreams aren't random, and they're not psychological quirks to be medicated away or ignored. They're your soul's increasingly urgent attempt to prepare you for your specific role in a collective transition that's already underway. What you're experiencing in those persistent dream scenarios is soul memory intersecting with present necessity. The symbols that keep appearing, the situations that recur, the emotions that persist upon waking, these aren't symptoms of a mind that needs fixing, but signals from a consciousness that's trying to wake you up to what you already know at a deeper level. Cayce taught that every soul currently incarnate chose to be here during this specific threshold period, bringing capacities developed over multiple lifetimes that will be needed for what approaches. Your repeating dreams are the mechanism by which those capacities and that purpose are gradually revealed to your conscious awareness. The question isn't whether the dreams mean something. Cayce's decades of documented readings confirm they absolutely do. The question is whether you're willing to pay attention, understand the message, and take the action being invited. When major transitions arrive, and Cayce was clear they're approaching, those who heeded their inner guidance will recognize they were being prepared all along. Those who dismissed it will wish they had listened. If you're recognizing the significance of your repeating dreams for the first time through this information, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to this channel. We're documenting the patterns Cayce identified that are manifesting right now. And drop a comment, sharing what symbols or scenarios keep appearing in your dreams. You might discover others are receiving similar messages, confirming what Cayce taught about collective patterns during threshold periods. The fact that you're still watching this video suggests something in you already knows your repeating dreams matter more than you've been willing to acknowledge. The question is, what you'll do with that knowing? Because here's what Cayce understood that our modern materialistic culture has forgotten. Reality operates on multiple levels simultaneously, and the dreaming state provides access to dimensions of knowing that waking consciousness cannot reach. Your repeating dreams aren't malfunctions of a sleeping brain, but transmissions from the part of you that exists beyond this single lifetime, that remembers other threshold moments in human history, that knows what's approaching because it has seen the pattern before, and that's desperately trying to help your surface awareness catch up with what your soul already understands. During ordinary historical periods, you might have the luxury of dismissing such communications as irrelevant mysticism. But we're not in an ordinary period. The acceleration of instability you feel in the external world, the sense that something fundamental is shifting, that old certainties no longer hold, that we're approaching a point of no return, that's not anxiety or pessimism. That's accurate perception. And your repeating dreams are your soul's response to that accurate perception, attempting to guide you toward the preparation and alignment that will carry you through what's coming. Cayce taught that the purpose of prophetic knowledge isn't to induce fear, but to inspire conscious choice. You can continue dismissing your repeating dreams as meaningless, or you can recognize them as the gift they are, advance warning, and specific guidance from the part of you that sees more clearly than your waking mind. You can continue trying to silence the persistent messages through distraction, medication, or willful ignorance, or you can finally start listening, recording, meditating on their meaning, and taking the actions they invite. The transition Cayce identified is approaching regardless of individual response, but your experience of that transition, whether you navigate it with purpose and spiritual grounding, or get swept along in confusion and fear, depends entirely on whether you heed the guidance being offered now, while there's still time to prepare. Your repeating dreams aren't bothering you. They're trying to save you. The question is whether you'll finally pay attention before the moment of transition arrives and preparation time runs out.